So what was the question again? Oh, why is it called the traffic jam? Well, you know, the reason is, it's because I have two really cool cars. Seriously cool cars. And I love drifting, racing, because I am fast and slick. And plus, I like to create a bit of traffic jam myself with a whole lot of great music. Bulumaka, my name is Rio, your host and DJ, right here on the Today FM Traffic Jam, every weekday from 3 p.m. to 7. Right here on Today FM, today's hit music.
In the news tonight, opposition member charged by FICAC and appears in court. Prime Minister calls for end to violence against women and children. And ANZ Bank gives glowing remarks about Fiji's economic performance. Good evening, I'm Jackie Spate and this is FBC News. Opposition whip Ratu Iso Tikova has been charged by the Fiji Independent Commission against corruption with one count of failing to declare liabilities under the political party's registration decree. Tikova appeared in the Suva Magistrates Court this afternoon, accompanied by family, friends and members of parliament, including the leader of opposition, Rote Mumukepa. He has been released on bail. Sodelpa parliamentarians William Ngavoka and Josefa Ndulaki Verata acted as sureties and paid $1,000 each for bail. While no reporting conditions have been attached to his bail, Tikova had to surrender his passport to the court. Details of the case have not yet been revealed. Tikova will reappear in the Magistrates Court on the 27th of May. Prime Minister Vorenge Bainimarama says the Pacific is failing in its efforts to address the appalling incidents of family violence. Speaking to over 50 participants at the Pacific Women's Parliamentarian Forum today, Bainimarama said for too long, Fijian society, in common with other Pacific societies, has turned a blind eye to what goes on in the privacy of people's homes.
According to the Prime Minister, what is worse about family violence in the Pacific is that we have tolerated and even encouraged a culture in which spouses or partners are entitled to use violence to resolve disputes or bring supposedly errant family members into line.
The current level of domestic violence in our midst is woefully unacceptable, unacceptably high. It is, in fact, cause for regional shame, and we must all do a lot more to stop it.
Here in Fiji, the issue is a burning one, following the death of journalist Losana McGowan in an alleged incident of domestic violence. Bainimarama says there is no excuse whatsoever for violence.
It is not acceptable, and we have given instructions to all the instruments of state that the perpetrators of domestic violence are to be subject to the full force of the law.
Around the world, more than 1 in 3 women have been beaten, coerced into sex or abused in some way. In the Pacific region, more than 60% of women experience some sort of violence. The World Health Organization calls it an epidemic.
In Australia, I consider it a national emergency. You're right, Prime Minister, no country is immune from the effects of violence against women. In Australia, every week since the beginning of this year, an average of 2 Australian women have been killed. 27% of Australian women have reported experiencing physical and or sexual intimate partner violence over their lifetime.
Over the next few days, participants will take stock of legislative responses that will look at ways of ending family and sexual violence. Eleanor Turangai, FBC News.
What happens in the next 2 years will in many ways determine the future viability of the sugar industry. Prime Minister Vorenge Bainimarama told a workshop on sugar industry reforms that no one can operate in isolation and it's time government and non-government sectors work together. Akusita Tale reports.
The Prime Minister has made his stand today that he is not prepared to fail the sugar industry and the thousands of Fijians whose livelihood depends on it.
And if we don't, we will find ourselves being swamped by events and could easily fail the ordinary Fijian and women who are looking to us for answers. I, for one, am not prepared to let them down.
From October 1st, 2017, Fiji sugar exports will no longer get EU preferential market access. Bainimarama has urged the government and non-government entities to work together for the sake of those who depend on the industry.
We need to make every single month count in our collective effort to ensure not only the survivability of our industry, but to cement a sustained future, more efficiency, more diversification, more attempts to secure new markets, more hard work on the part of everyone.
Bainimarama encouraged both sectors to see themselves as custodians and protectors of every Fijian dependent on the industry. He says if they work smart and expend maximum effort, this is a battle that can be won.
Of course, there are huge challenges which continue to lie ahead of the industry, particularly in terms of its future competitiveness, and that's why we are here.
One of the links that was missing in the whole value chain was the ability to bring the rest of the people that are in this room as part and parcel of the sugarcane industry. And I think from today, what we're seeing is we need all the help we can.
The Prime Minister reminded the participants that the hopes of the 200,000 Fijians rest on their shoulders and they shouldn't be let down. Akusita Talei, FBC News.
Fiji's economic performance is having a positive effect on the lives of people. That's the indication from the ANZ Bank's economic review. Edwin Nund reports.
The Blue Bank identified 4 key drivers of economic growth: government investment, private sector investment, foreign investment and consumer spending.
Fiji right now is in a stage where the hard infrastructure is getting quite good and getting up to world-class standards very quickly. And then the investment over the next stage of growth will be in the social side, bringing education and health and social services up to a higher level. So in our view, we think this is a positive step on the path towards development, and the next step will be further advancement on the social side.
Daniel Wilson says Fiji is in a sweet spot, both in terms of economic and investor confidence growth. However, consumer demand is a force of its own, propped up by the highest level of personal and commercial lending in over a decade.
We've seen consumption growth rise quite steadily, and this is largely due to the fact that Fiji is approaching a tipping point in terms of the GDP per capita. Typically when we see economies reach a level of about $5,000 on a per capita basis, consumption takes almost a vertical leap higher. And normally it involves the purchases of big durable goods, such as cars.
ANZ Bank has forecast 4% GDP growth for the rest of the year, supported by a sustained commodities demand from Asia and rising tourism numbers. However, Chief Executive Asia Pacific Vishnu Mohan is quick to point out that there are other players apart from China.
I don't think it's fair to say it's all about China, but China is clearly a leader. He's at the forefront of the investments in the infrastructure activities that are going on, not just here in Fiji, but across the Pacific. But at the same time, there are also a lot of other regional players, and more so from countries like New Zealand and some from Australia.
ANZ economists believe once the government has completed its reforms and infrastructure upgrades, the private sector will be more than ready to take over investments and economic growth. Edwin Nund, FBC News.
Police have 1 suspect in custody and are looking for 4 others who robbed a service station in Nandi early Monday morning. The CCTV footage shows the masked men entering the Mobile Arrowtown service station shortly after 3 a.m. when they threatened the staff with knives and crowbars. 2 of them ransacked the counters looking for cash. When police arrived at the scene, there was a confrontation between the officers and the perpetrators in front of the service station. One of the men was captured while the driver and 3 others escaped in a rental car, which was later found abandoned on Denarau Road. The suspect, who was apprehended, and one of the police officers are recovering in Nandi Hospital. Still to come, a study says most children with disabilities don't go to school.
Bula Bull FM number 2 na sera na iwan siningaw na ni Batara ni Sibiti ko weekend na diwa na tini na miniti na may pagkuriti ora beng grabe na nonton nonongo kanda na dapat ko ani ro na kaloko ena ka venden debo ni na tay bali ni may dapat ko na wani matakabo kan lebi sarti ko na biser tali oni na namaka do batat ko may kina na kenan daw ro ko di kanamaki Bulo binaka Ayo salam ilawa do batat kiya wana Batara na wani dio na kaloko moni tiki na barumbuka ena Bull FM number 2 ena sera
Great words there from Lucky Dube and Babana. I hope you enjoyed that number. Different colors just for you. On Gold FM, only the classic hits. Louise with you on the Center Show. Well, thank you so much for the sweet company. This is Alana Miles, one of my favorites, and Black Velvet for you. Hi there. Join me on the Center Show every weekday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. for the best sounds on Gold FM. Only the classic hits.
Maritime Safety Authority of Fiji is investigating the sinking of a barge near Naitaumba Island over a week ago. 9 crew members were rescued by employees at a hotel on Naitaumba. Tuiwai Level Company manager Josh Nawa says the barge sank on Sunday, April 19th.
We're still trying to rectify now what was the real cause of that incident, because it was night and about 3:30 a.m. and they're about to go in on the passage at Naitaumba and they found that the barge was listing. So, and they tried to go in and but the wing was capsized. So they were still trying to identify what was the cause for that.
The company lost about 190 tons of cargo in the incident. A 2010 National Disability Survey has highlighted that only 21% of children with disabilities complete primary school. Many do not have access to education and remain at home. This week, education stakeholders are meeting in Nandi to map out an 8-year plan to implement the policy of special and inclusive education. Christopher Chand reports.
It's a sad reality. A majority of children with disabilities are not able to get education.
What we want is people to accept and recognize that in every society there will be a small but significant percent of children with disabilities. They also have dreams like we do, and therefore those of us, the fortunate lot, we need to reach out to them.
The 3-day workshop will deliberate on a strategic plan to introduce special and inclusive education for disabled people.
Very significant step forward for the Ministry of Education here in Fiji. Having this particular stakeholder consultation, as we've heard, it's a milestone development in disability inclusion in this nation.
People probably will be looking at it as a smaller step. To us, it's a big one. This is a milestone, and to be able to come and together and have an aggressive consultation.
The consultations will work on opportunities for children with special needs to get access to primary, secondary and university studies.
Just to see how they could amend their curriculum to include teaching methodology which will allow children with disabilities to also access those qualifications. As you have noted today, there was a person with disability who have obtained a master's degree.
A further boost has been these educational toolkits that have been given to teachers to help them meet the needs of students with disabilities. Christopher Chand, FBC News.
Investing in Ethauke land is very safe. This was highlighted by Solo Nata, the TLTB Deputy General Manager, during an investment exploratory seminar in Suva. Watisoni Rakanroka reports.
Nata says investors can invest in customary land because it is secured and also provides security for foreign investors.
We are trying to engage with quality investors that can generate employment and also look after our environment. Both are very important to small countries like Fiji.
Nata says the response from investors is positive, and he also reiterates that the TLTB is open in regard to queries about investing in Itauke land. Nata also says they're improving the efficiency in terms of processing the interest and also inviting investors to come and invest in Fiji. Meanwhile, John de Guisti, a delegate from Australia, says the world should learn from Fiji on land ownership.
Our ownership is still of vital importance to the people of Fiji and how they've resisted the temptation to change, and it's great that they still have 92% of land still owned by the Fijians, the original Fijians.
The message is that Itauke land is secure and a good option when it comes to investing in Fiji. Watisuni Rekanroka, FBC News.
Schools are being encouraged to submit their entries to the 2015 Kool Awards, an event that encourages artists to express themselves through the creative arts. Film Fiji chairperson Shanaz Voss says this year marks the 10th anniversary of the awards established by Film Fiji in 2006. 24 schools have already confirmed their participation in the film and dance competition.
The US Embassy is bringing in expertise from Hollywood, assisting us in this year's program, where they will be mentoring, bringing the right people to mentor, students who are possibly going out for the first time in movies or writing script or direction, or for that matter, anything to do with film production.
The Kool Awards will be held in July in 3 streams covering film, dance and art. The concerts are being organised by Mirchi FM with RS Promotions and will be held on the 28th and 29th of May in Suva and Nandi respectively. And on that note, it's sports time now. Here's Jamie with the latest.
Jackie, and good evening. Coming up, former England Sevens captain assisting Fiji Sevens with set pieces, and Lautoka football aim to end its drought with the Vodafone Fiji Fact this year. Details after the break.
छू 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 हे हे नमस्ते फीजी, आपके हर एक प्रॉब्लम की दवा लेकर मैं आ गई हूँ 9 से 12 बजे तक आपकी सहेली रेनू। छू 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 40 में 20 का दिखना है। मैं हूँ ना आपके साथ में मिर्ची एफएम पर 9 से 12 बजे तक मंडे टू फ्राइडे। मिर्ची, इट्स हॉट।
Yoni borongo tu mai na Radio Fiji 1 totoka tunan raki na ngona ni ko ni takini ni nandoba tu mai na ngono go me ga ben na ruwa na ngubi ngarabi na singale ni ko ni sangulo binaka oya wana kamana langi na makia na bi mataka mai na diwa ki na ruwa na bi singale bo mai na moni tikina borombo kan Radio Fiji 1 nando mai biti bonga ni bi ni adu.
Former England Sevens captain Chris Cracknell believes the Vodafone Fiji Sevens side stands a good chance of winning the World Sevens Series. Cracknell has been helping out the Fiji forwards with their set pieces for the past 2 weeks. Talendau Dakadaka reports.
The Vodafone Fiji Sevens side has been receiving some professional tips from former England Sevens skipper Chris Cracknell. The lanky forward retired from professional rugby last year and received an invitation from national coach Ben Ryan to help out with the forward's set pieces.
The team have been brilliant. It's been an honour to help out where I can with the scrums and line-ups with the boys, and they've been fantastic, and it's been an honour to be involved with them.
Cracknell was a regular in the England side during his 6-year career on the World Series and has enjoyed spending time with some of his former rivals on the field.
Yeah, I played against pretty much everybody, apart from Jerry. For me, that's probably quite fortunate I have to deal with his fast feet. So the boys are in good shape, and I think they're looking forward to Glasgow and London. They've certainly worked hard over the last 2 weeks.
Ryan is happy to have Cracknell by his side to prepare the team for the final 2 tournaments in the series.
We need more expertise, and he's been great around the boys. They like it because he's, such a recent player in Sevens, so they've played against him and they know him really well. He's got a good rapport, so he's sort of young coaches that ideally I'd like to try and keep in Fiji and work with all the teams.
Cracknell's expertise and knowledge is sure to add strength to Fiji's title hopes in the Glasgow and London tournaments. FBC Sports.
The Shop and Save Lautoka football team is hoping to break Nandi's stronghold on the Vodafone Fiji FAC title and take it back to the Sugar City. This year's tournament gets underway in Bar this weekend with the Blues taking on the hosts in its opening match. Josephine Avola reports.
The Lambert Sarju coach side is hoping the number 13 will be lucky as it attempts to wrestle the cup off the hands of Nandi. It's been 13 years since they won the tournament. Lautoka takes on Bar in its opening match on Sunday afternoon, and the side knows it won't be an easy game.
Bar has played the O-League. They've got a slight edge, should I say, over us. They've been consistent, playing week in, week out. And for us, it is a slight disadvantage because our last game was almost, should I say, a month or 5 weeks ago. And we did not have any good competitive games or matches to be played.
However, this has motivated the team to improve on its performance.
Every team, like I said, will come into the tournament, will want to win the tournament. And so first game is very important for any of the teams, likewise for us as well.
Lautoka has made only one change to the team. Shiron Naidu is out of the tournament because of an injury. Josephine Avola, FBC Sports.
Media and National Olympic committees need to work closely together to ensure proper promotion of sports in the region. Papua New Guinea's Olympic Committee President Sir John Dawaninkura made the comments at the ONOC pre-assembly conference in Suva today. He says it is of paramount importance for the two bodies to help take sports in the region to the next level.
We, the Olympic Committee, from time to time should continue to have those media seminars sponsored by the Olympic Committee to ensure that we do, apart from each organization doing their very best to upskill their employees, we also have an obligation to try and organize those media seminars.
The ONOC conferences continue through the remainder of the week. The Capital Force Netball side will take on Western Heats in the Digital Punja Super League final in Suva this weekend. Despite being laced with national reps such as Nina Virikusuva, Taufatanga and Asilika Sebutia, Capital Force will go into the match as underdogs against an unbeaten Western Heat side. The final round of games will be played on Saturday at the Vodafone Arena in Suva. Chisoko Plateaus take on Central Swifts in the 5th and 6th playoff at 10 a.m., while Satellite Divas and Stallion Starlets battle in the 3rd and 4th place playoff at 12 p.m. And in the final, Capital Force take on Western Heats at 2 p.m. And that's it from Sports Tonight. It's back to Jackie now with business.
FMF Foods Limited, through its subsidiary bakery company Fiji Limited, will invest in a new biscuit factory. The factory will make biscuits primarily for the export market and will supplement the group's biscuit manufacturing capacity. FMF is expected to invest about $40 million on this project, which will create 120 jobs. Construction will begin next month at an already selected but unannounced site in Suva. Once again, fine weather prevailed over the country today. East to southeast winds have been bringing us generally clear weather and cool nights the past few days. Slightly cooler in Suva today as the maximum temperature reached 28 degrees, 28 also in Savo, while Mombasa peaked at 32. Tonight's temperatures will drop to the low 20s in the major centres. For tomorrow, generally clear weather with a chance of brief showers over the interior and eastern parts of the larger islands. Friday's outlook, just about the same. And the main points again, Opposition Whip Ratui Sotikova has been charged by FICAC with one count of failing to declare liabilities under the political party's registration decree. Prime Minister Borenge Bainimarama says the Pacific is failing in its efforts to address the appalling incidents of family violence. And police are still looking for 4 men who robbed a service station in Nandi in the early hours of Monday morning. Now to the poll question for this week, we're asking, should there be more organised activities for students during the school holidays? Visit our FBC website to take part. Remember, you can send us newsworthy pictures and videos on email citizenseyes at fbc.com.fj or share it with us via Facebook page FBC News. And if you're on Twitter, follow and tweet us your news tips at FBC_news or simply hashtag FBC News. That's the news for tonight. See you again tomorrow at the same time. Good night.
देश की धड़कन रेडियो फीजी 2 का ये प्रसारण आपके लिए कार्यक्रम में आपका स्वागत हम कर रहे हैं। याद रखते अभी से लेकर रात 12 तक यह सिलसिला हमारा और आपका चलता रहेगा। दृष्टिकोण में आपका हम स्वागत कर रहे हैं। दृष्टिकोण के तुरंत बाद आगे बढ़ते हैं कार्यक्रम में। इधर कहते हैं कि गहरी थी रात लेकिन हम सोए नहीं, गहरी थी रात लेकिन हम सोए नहीं, दर्द बहुत था दिल में पर हम रोए नहीं, कोई नहीं हमारा जो पूछे हमसे, जाग रहे हो किसके लिए या किसी के लिए सोए नहीं। याद रखा दें गीत संगीत का तकाजा आपके लिए रात 12 तक आपको हम सोने नहीं देंगे। महकती रातें हर सोमवार से लेकर शुक्रवार तक रात 7 से लेकर 12 के बीच रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन पर रविंद्र सिंह के साथ।